Hello and a big welcome to today, the Sunday Festival, a special Game 7 edition of Rocket Launch Sports Picks. My name is Jonathan. Real pleasure to come to you live. We got an exciting matchup in the Eastern Conference between the Cavs and the Pistons. That has been a very up and down, very competitive series here in Detroit. Well, it's going to end in Detroit. It started in Detroit. First things first, before we get to that, if you are here for Premier League Soccer, it's going to be the other video that I post today. So soccer fans, unless you love basketball, go ahead and check my other video with the Premier League picks for the day. And last but not least, we'll have no baseball free picks today. We'll get back to that tomorrow. But what I will do is I will recap yesterday, going 3 for 4. Came close on Jose Soriano. Only gave up 1 earned run through 5. He lost it in the 6th, unfortunately. So, he was strong, but other than that, Mike Trout drew a walk late in the game. Jacob deGrom, 4 earned runs in Houston, and Aaron Judge, 2 hits and a run. So, that being said, we will have Game 6 recaps, in the Saturday Landing. So, again, for our basketball fans looking for the Game 6 recap, watch the Saturday Landing video from yesterday. With all that out of the way, let's get to the NBA basketball Game 7 picks for today. Before we do that, we get to the series in review. We look at the games in the series. One thing you can really see from the scores here is that almost all of these games, besides that last Game 6, has been decided by 10 or less points. We really mean it when we say this has been a competitive series. It's been a great series between the two teams. This has been one of those series as well that has had some down-to-the-wire finishes. But you can kind of see who the dominant players are on the boards, on the points. Cade Cunningham, Donovan Mitchell, James Harden led the Cavs in Game 6. We'll talk more about him here. Jalen Durham with the rebounds. We did have a player prop on him. I think it was Game 2. And also Jared Allen, who we've also had on here. But let's get to today's picks. The Eastern Conference semifinals Game 7 is going to wrap it all up. Tobias Harris has been a key player for Detroit. We expect him over 24.5 points, rebounds, and assists. On to Paul Reed. He has given the team a massive spark these last couple games. We're expecting him over 5.5 rebounds. James Harden, we'll talk about his career in Game 7s and everything else. We expect him over 25.5 points and assists. Last but not least, of course, in a Game 7 special, we want to pick the winner. We picked Detroit to move on at home to finish off the series. We'll talk more about that at the very end. Let's get to it. Let's get to Tobias Harris. Tobias Harris over 24.5 points, rebounds, and assists combined. He's done that in 8 of his last 10, 14 of his last 20. And against the Cavs, he did it in the first 4 games of the series. He did not do it in the last 2 games of the series. So you can see plenty of time in that Orlando series he got it done, including one towards the end of the regular season. It's just been the last 2 games he's been a little bit off. And we expect Tobias Harris at home to really ramp it up. Tobias Harris overall has been very consistent throughout the postseason. You can see right there, plenty of games with 24.5 rebounds and assists and points. You can see in that bigger picture right there on that left-hand graph, he hasn't had as big of streaks over 24.5 as he had before the previous couple games. So you can see in that very recent trend, even that longer recent trend, he has been very consistent for Detroit. We expect him to step up in this Game 7. And last but not least, we post his postseason stats. He has been a great postseason performer in the 80 games that he's played with the Clippers, with the Sixers, and now with the Pistons. It averaged 16.7 points, 8.1 rebounds, 2.6 assists. That comes out to a combined 27 average, 27-28 average. So you can see in a very average postseason game for Tobias Harris, he gets it done. Let's go on to his teammate, Paul Reed. We're going to need him to provide a huge spark for Detroit today. We expect him over 5.5 rebounds, something he's done in 5 of his last 10, 9 of his last 20, and head-to-head against the Cavs, looking at the series, of course, we're talking about what he's done in the last couple games, but even looking at the first 6 games, he has done it in 4 of those first 6 games of the series after being relatively quiet in Orlando. So big one for Paul Reed there, being able to get that done in this series. We expect him to do it again. We look at his postseason averages. He's averaging 4.9 rebounds in the postseason. Well, excuse me, not in the postseason. Overall against Cleveland. This is not the postseason. Overall, he's done 4.9 rebounds. So with that being said, he typically gets pretty close. Now, that is a little bit below. Again, 5.5 or 6 or more. But he's still, when he's played against Cleveland, he's been getting it done in most of the games. Now, looking at the regular season, he's done it 40%. Pretty good for a guy who plays a little bit on and off. His playing time hasn't been as consistent throughout the season, but still, he gets it done. We expect Paul Reed to really step up at home in front of that Detroit fan base and get over 5.5 rebounds. Onward to James Harden on the other side. He's obviously a big player. They acquired him for this kind of moment, for the Game 7, to really step up for the Cleveland Cavaliers and deliver. James Harden is bound to deliver at least a solid performance. He has gone over 25.5 points and assists in 7 of his last 10 games. That includes 12 of his last 20, and head-to-head, he's done it in 8 out of 11. So he's been very solid in this Detroit series. He's done it in 5 out of 6 in this series. And you look at the 4 games of the regular season, well, he actually didn't play for Cleveland the whole regular season, just the last couple there. He was able to get it done once, and of course, once out of the 2 times in Cleveland uniform. And of course, the other times was when he was with the Clippers. So he's getting it done in this series against Detroit, even though some days he really does not shoot well from the field. Let's get on to some other stats. First off, looking at his whole season, he's done it in 76% or 63 out of the 83 games. That's regular season and postseason. Also looking at his averages in 8 Game 7s of his career. His first ever Game 7 was in 2011 when he was with the Oklahoma City Thunder. He has played in 8 Game 7s, averaging 19.1 points, 7.3 assists, and 5.8 rebounds. So we can look at it and say he played his first Game 7 15 years ago when he was in his 3rd year in the league, and now in Cleveland, this will be his 9th Game 7. Yes, he's on the road. Yes, he's choked, and he might even choke again. I mean, he might go like 10 for 25 from the field again and take way too many shots for Cleveland. That still lends to the possibility that he's going to get over 25.5 points and assists. He does pass the ball well. He can make some plays. But in the end of the day, James Harden is expected to go over 25.5 points and assists. Last but not least, we are bound to pick the winner in this Eastern Conference Semifinals Game 7 special, and we do that. The betting odds have Detroit as our favorites, according to Novig, our sportsbook, and we are going to go with that. We are going to pick Detroit to win and move on to the Eastern Conference Finals against the New York Knicks. Let's look at some of the stats from the series. And actually, let's start on the right-hand side. Let's look at the regular season, the whole entire season. One key thing you want to look at on that right-hand chart is Detroit went 31-9 at home. 31-9. They missed one game. I mean, it's 41 home games, but still, a very convincing 31 wins at home. Cleveland on the road, they're pretty much just under what they are at home. I mean, they had a solid case for what they've done on the road, but still, Detroit has played very well at the Little Caesars Arena. Now, Cleveland did win the Game 5 at Little Caesars Arena, but they did lose the first 2. Let's look at some of these these series stats. This is the stats right here in the playoff series. We're looking at the fact, if you look at the number on the very right-hand side of the charts, you can see, first off, Detroit does have more field goal attempts. They are producing more efficiently, but also they are better percentage. You can see 47.4% as a team versus Cleveland at 45.3%. Looking at the middle charts, we're looking at the breakdown of 2-pointers and 3-pointers. Cleveland is doing better on the 2-pointers. Now you can see a big disparity in 2-point attempts. Detroit is attempting more 2-pointers every game. They are making 50% of them. But what I really want to point your attention to is the 3-point percentage. Detroit is shooting significantly better from 3-pointers, but they're also taking less shots from 3. They are getting more high percentage, closer looks than Cleveland is in this series. But that's still a huge disparity. 40.9% for Detroit versus 34.3% for Cleveland. So Cleveland's well below league average here in this series. They have put up way too many 3-pointers. And when you're on the road in a Game 7 like this, guys like James Harden, Donovan Mitchell, if they get on a streak where they're missing 3-pointers, it's going to be easy for them to panic and lose at least a little bit of composure. That is something that we could expect to see in a certain situation. Now, if they get hot, they get hot. They played great in the Game 5. But in the end of the day, we expect that Detroit is going to take higher quality shots. They've been doing that, and especially at home here in this Game 7. Looking at the bottom, more rebounds look at the rebounds and assists. Detroit has gotten more rebounds and assists. You can see, especially with the offensive rebounds, you can look at the middle of the chart there. They got the same amount of defensive rebounds exactly, which is crazy after 6 games. But the offensive rebound stat, 3 more offensive rebounds average for Detroit. Second half points, especially at home, could really play to the advantage of the Detroit Pistons. Guys like Jalen Duren, Paul Reed, they are getting some offensive rebounds, and they've been doing very good on the offensive glass. Evan Mobley is really going to have to box out, and they are going to have to really win on the boards if Cleveland's going to advance in this series. You can see a slightly better free throw percentage for Cleveland, 79.8 versus 78.1. Detroit does have a couple more assists as well. A lot of these stats right here in this series, even though it's tied up at 3, Detroit has overall been the better team in this series in a lot of ways. We expect that at home in this Game 7, that is going to show. Ladies and gentlemen, that will do it for this edition of a NBA special, a Game 7 special. 4 big picks here in the Cleveland Cavaliers versus Detroit Pistons game. Expect a recap tomorrow alongside breaking down 3 or 4 free picks for the Oklahoma City Thunder game versus the San Antonio Spurs. Also, expect some Major League Baseball free picks as well. We'll break it all down. Hope you all enjoy your day. Grab your popcorn. Enjoy what is bound to be a wonderful Game 7 tonight.